Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts.
Hello and welcome back. How are you this week, Belle?
I'm great, thanks, Kirsty. It's been a big one. I took a sneak peek at the Ridges, Melbourne, in the city's theatre district to check out its renovation, which took years and reportedly tens of billions of dollars, so being a bit cagey on the cash. This week also saw the launch of the new Virgin Voyages cruises. Think adults-only cruises run by Richard Branson, rockstar suites designed by the big names in fashion and interior design, Michelin star restaurants, J-Lo is an ambassador. Also, I know it's got it all. What it also has is no single-use plastic and new low-emission ships, which I really like. And I also squeezed in a visit to the stadium to see the Matildas play Canada. It's been a big week. How about you?
Big week. Must need to lie down. I've been on deadline too with the next issue of Signature Luxury Travel and Style, and we go to print shortly. And I've also been planning a trip back to New Zealand to one of my favourite places in the North Island, which is Waiheke Island.
Oh, why is it so good? I mean, I've heard a lot about it, but what makes it so great in your eyes?
Well, it's actually changed a lot over the years and since I lived in New Zealand many, many years ago. But the things that make it so good, it's actually only 45 minutes by ferry from the centre of the city. Nice. And it is just so beautiful. It's full of wineries, olive groves, beaches and bays at every turn and quaint villages and amazing places to eat. One of my favourite places is actually Mudbrick Vineyard and Restaurant, and you can actually sit there and sit outside and you can look right across at the city skyline. It's just so pretty. Definitely a place to put on the list if you love a little island escape. And there are also lots of batches, which is the Kiwi word for holiday house, and lots of batches right on the water, so you can rent a place to stay and literally just walk out and go for a swim.
Oh, I love a good island stay. And speaking of islands, the Henley Passport Index is out for 2023. This is basically ranks the global travel freedom in terms of how many visa-free and visa-on-demand access each country has. And what island nation do you think now has the world's most powerful passport? Kirsty, go on, give us a run. Give us a crack at it.
I have absolutely no idea. Tell us, Belle, tell us.
It is Singapore, which has knocked another island, Japan, off the top spot and is now officially the most powerful passport in the world. And Germany, Italy and Spain all moved up into second place, with visa-free access to 190 destinations. And Japanese passport holders joined those of 6 other nations, which includes Austria, Finland and Sweden, in third place.
Gosh, amazing. Well, that's interesting, Singapore. Such a great place to go with the food, amazing food, and obviously great climate. And it's so easy to get around. Anyway, not that has anything to do with the ranking. But
no.
UK was also bumped up the list after a 6-year decline, jumping up 2 places on the latest ranking to 4th, while the US continued its decade-long slide, plummeting a further 2 spots to 8th.
Yeah, and Australia came in at 6th place, so we jumped up 2 places and joined Hungary and Poland, and that demonstrates the overall trend for greater visa-free travel around the world. And I was really interested to learn that there are 12 countries that offer either you don't need a visa for, or you can get one on arrival for all 198 passports in the world. And those 12 countries included the Maldives, Rwanda, and closer to home, Timor-Leste. Although at the other end of the scale, it breaks my heart to see poor Afghanistan remains in last place.
Well, yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? Right, well, let's get into it. So who are you chatting to this week, Belle?
This week, I caught up with Alistair Leith, an entertainment journalist and movie reviewer, and he is currently hoovering up all of the silver screen goodness at the Melbourne International Film Festival, which starts today, the 3rd of August, and runs until the 27th. And you can see the full program on their website at miff.com.au.
Hey, Alistair, thanks so much for joining us. It's great to be. We're actually in a studio. That's very exciting together, isn't it?
I know. Thanks for having me. Good to do it in person.
Always. You have been a very busy lad in the lead up to the Melbourne International Film Festival, which actually starts today. I mean, how many...
It does. I'm exhausted already.
Well, and it hasn't even started.
No,
Why is that?
It's a lot of prep work, I guess, goes into this. We just get flooded with screeners going, hey, tell everyone how amazing these movies are.
And how many movies are
And
there?
what they should see. So there's 267 this year.
Oh, my goodness, from all over the world.
That is a lot. From everywhere. They've really, like, usually they do go out, but this year they've really rounded it out. And they've got a really big selection. So if, English, American is your thing, great. You've got lots. There's a big emphasis on Nordic films this year.
Yeah, cool.
There's a lot of Japanese as well, and European, which I kind of dived into a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Pre-festival, what I could get my hands on.
And you've picked 3 movies that you really love, which have got a really all about the place, like the locations of them is what the heroes are. So we've got one today from from northern Germany. We've got an Irish movie and another, which this one just makes my heart explode. It's from the Sami lands in Norway. So tell us, hit us.
Well, look, let's start with the big one.
Okay, go.
We'll start with Let the River Flow. So it's set in Norway.
I think this one's your favourite, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's definitely my favourite.
Yeah, wow, okay.
I was very close to giving it 5 stars, but that's 5 stars is a difficult thing to give and justify and not be crucified online for.
So why did it get you almost 5 stars for? Okay.
So, look, it is set, it's a true story, so the Alta River. So it is set in the real-life events from 1979 to 1981.
Okay.
So when I did, from the look of the movie, everything looks 60s. The interiors.
Oh, is that where you lost the half star because you think that it was?
I was
just
like, oh, this is very psychedelic.
Oh, okay.
The wallpapers and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? But yeah, 79 to 81 was when the uprising, I guess you'd call it, happened with the Sami people. And
this is a protest about damming part of the indigenous Sami lands, isn't it?
Yeah, so I guess this movie takes a different approach. You don't see things from the Sami point of view. You see it from one young girl's point of view. And she is Sami, but she's been raised, colonised, and assimilated.
Wow.
And finds out through her cousin, who is just this hilarious, flamboyant, drags her into this world and says, this is who you are, this is what the government wants to do, this is why we, need to do something about it. And then it just kind of transfers into this snow and ice set up against the Sami dress, which just have these reds, blues against that snow. It's just heaven to look at.
Oh, fantastic! And I've seen some of the promo photos for it, and you've got the bright red fabrics, like the woven fabrics and stuff like that of the Sami, and that incredible northern Norway landscapes of big snow and ice. So, I mean, that just makes my heart sing. One of the stars of it is the Northern Lights, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Right.
And reindeer.
Oh, love a good reindeer shot.
Some of it is reindeer for food and clothes.
Okay.
So it's not all Rudolph. But
I'm okay with that.
It is definitely, it doesn't shy away from the harshness of what happened against the beauty of how amazing this country looks. And that is something that's not easy to get right. So I think the director makes you want to go there. As soon as I left the cinema, the people I was with, we were all like, when are we going? When are we going? And that's where we're going.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a magnificent landscape. I was actually, one of the last places I was in before COVID was Finland, and it had a lot of that overlap of the land and culture as well. Like we were in reindeer. I went to a reindeer farm, which doesn't sound very romantic, but they're only sort of held during winter, and then in summer they just run free out in the pastures, and you could get to hug little baby reindeer, feed them by hand. Oh, it was just the most divine thing. I know, love a good reindeer. I mean, they are a bit woofy, but apart from that,
when you're there, you're not going to care.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And if you go in winter, this is one of those locations you go in winter and you just and you can see, you can see the frozen lakes and just the snowfall and learn all of the different words for snow as well, because there are so many words for snow. It's not just snow. It's like the snow that falls from the trees and the snow that disappears by sunrise, and it's just it really is a magical destination. That whole strip of the Sami lands up the top of Scandinavia. So I
want to go.
I am booking into this. I'm not going to Norway in the very near future, so I'm going to book into Let the River Flow to get my little Norwegian hit without leaving Australia. So it just, it sounds divine. The other two had one in Germany and one in Ireland as well. So which one are you going to pick next?
Let's go with Germany.
Oh, okay.
So it's called A Fire. Mm-hmm. So it's set on the Baltic coast. And it is essentially a travel movie.
Okay.
A group of friends go on a vacation. They're looking for just like the ultimate getaway. And to be honest, I didn't really know much about these islands before this movie, or, that Germany had anything that beautiful and beautiful water. I just never associated that with Germany.
Right, okay.
Ever.
So this is the Baltic coast, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
yeah.
right. So the towns that they're setting out to go explore. So
I knew you were going to make me say it. Apologies to any Germans out there in advance.
Sorry.
So Lübeck and Travemünde.
Well done. Okay.
I tried.
And these are UNESCO-listed properties as well, UNESCO-listed destinations as well, aren't they?
Yeah, which is like, how have I never heard of this? So
there's another one for your bucket list, people. This is a movie called A Fire.
They go and visit the historic Hanseatic city of Lübeck. There's an old town district, and then you kind of travel on to Travemünde, which is just the most gorgeous sandy beach shot.
Right.
It rivals, like, I don't want to say Australian beaches. Don't comment. But
it is Northern Hemisphere.
It was a surprise.
Well, this is that little curve of the Baltic Sea. So when you're sort of getting into, you've got Denmark not that far away, and it's all before you, and then you've got Copenhagen sort of straight ahead. So it's in those sheltered waters.
Yeah.
In there. I mean, that's a really long way north to expect. You're not going to get tropical palms and stuff like that, are you?
You don't.
Yeah.
But it's definitely just a complete surprise. The movie itself is it is about a group of friends just trying to have a holiday. And there are some wildfires that kind of pretend to play a threat.
So do you rate this movie? That's the question.
Yeah, I still gave it 4 stars, but I think a lot of it was because of the location.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And how beautiful it is to look at. So if you can just ignore the stuff that's happening and just watch the incredible cinematography that they did, it's worth the watch just for that.
Okay, so that's one. So A Fire. That's one for one for the scenery pervs amongst us, which I think is most of us if we're listening to a travel podcast. And the last one, we are going to Ireland, which is a place very close to my heart. I lived there for a long time, and to Dublin. This is the Miracle Club, and that's got Maggie Smith in it, Kathy Bates. I mean, we're on much more familiar ground here, and Laura Linney.
Yes.
Love Laura Linney. Oh God. And it's set in Dublin. Yeah. So tell us about it.
What's this was the only one that's in English, so the others are subtitled.
Okay.
So definitely more on the home ground, although Kathy Bates' Irish accent, question mark.
Okay. So this is set in Dublin.
Yes.
And I mean, not all Dublin is lovely Georgian doors and cutesy pubs, is it? Is that what you're finding? It's around the South Wall.
Not.
Yeah.
It's very urban.
It's gritty. Can we say gritty?
Gritty is a word,
okay.
Yes.
So why are you choosing this one then for one to be looking at, like for
so they don't just stay in Dublin.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this movie, it's another road trip movie.
I love a good road trip.
They go to Lourdes.
Oh, in France.
Yes.
Okay, right.
And I guess all of them have either a physical sickness or one of them has a mental illness and the other is just really depressed, and they kind of want to go to the grotto.
Yeah. Which is, of course, where miracles happen, and you can be healed by the powers of the water. And it's a very Irish thing to do.
I did not know this.
Oh,
again,
goodness. Did you not grow up?
another thing I
This
did
is
not
Catholic
know.
schoolgirl talking here, right?
Right.
You know, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Our Lady of Lourdes was always one when you had an affliction or an illness of some sort, you pray to the lady. But also the South Wall in Dublin, Dublin, the whole side of Dublin was all about ferries. So do they fly there or do they take a boat?
They took a bus from their little village to a ferry.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you ferry across to northern France, go to Lourdes, get healed, come home.
Insane.
Right. I can't see the problem. I can't see the problem. But, you know, so Maggie Smith is doing it, Kathy Bates is doing it, Laura Linney's doing it. You know, it's a thing, Alistair.
And they actually went to Lourdes to film. So it looks incredible.
Does it?
So it's not all CGI'd and green screened and, this is what it looks like. It's the actual place.
So they didn't CGI the Virgin Mary in there?
You don't see her.
Oh, okay.
You see the spot where she supposedly appeared?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions, this will be interesting for you, about whether she did appear or not through that movie, which was very interesting to watch the audience's reaction to that. Obviously, a lot of hardcore Catholics in that audience.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I think the pool thing's interesting, to actually get into the water, get dunked down and come back and you're healed.
Yeah, right.
And they were saying that the strike rate on it, on the miracles, inverted commas, is not as high as you think it's going to be. So, interesting.
Is this one of those power of healing, like the power of the mind to heal kind of things?
I think it's...
Does Maggie Smith survive to the end of it?
That's what I want to know.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, thank God. You can't have
It's not a horrible death
going.
movie.
Right, okay, good.
It's quite positive, quite happy.
But you've got that gritty Dublin thing happening there because, you know, like in so many of those Irish movies, you know, you've got the stuff where everyone's running around with lovely sheep and fields and things like that and parish priests and stuff. And then you've got the
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are no sheep in this movie.
Okay, good to know.
What I found interesting was that you can actually do pilgrimages as an individual, or you can join a group through the local Lourdes government website, and they'll connect you with others if you're wanting to do that. That's
and there's you're saying there's a 24-hour live feed from the chapel.
Yeah, so
for some virtual healing.
It's on YouTube. You can get to it through that website, which we'll put in the notes. But yeah, if you just want to watch it, I watched it for maybe about half an hour.
What, waiting for someone to be healed?
It was just incredible. It was just someone, it was just a priest praying, and then a few other people came in and started singing, and I tapped out after that. But
righto. But that's incredible. So this is like a bizarre
concept.
Well, a virtual healing experience as well.
Yeah,
if you couldn't go yourself.
Maybe
you just dial
you
in.
might see the Virgin Mary on YouTube. Who knows?
Quite possibly. Well, somebody's filming it the whole time. I mean, pilgrimages are not a new, not an unusual thing, are they? Because, I mean, if you look at, like, some of the biggest in the world are things like Hajj in Saudi Arabia and, Kirkpatrick is another one in Ireland that, people climb up to the top of this mountain where Patrick was praying. The whole Holy Lands thing, pilgrimage tourism is enormous, is absolutely enormous thing. So I did not know about the live webcam, though. And this movie, The Miracle Club, taps into that. When I first moved to Ireland, I was reading the local papers because I was looking for a job as a journo. The travel section did have a lot of ads for pilgrimages to different locations, to the Holy Lands, to Lourdes, to the back section of the newspaper was full of them. So there you go. And you can also watch, do a virtual screening of these as well, can't you? Some of them.
Yeah, so some of them are on MIF Play, which is their digital service.
That is so cool.
So if you don't live in Melbourne, you can access these wherever you are, even internationally, and this year, I believe.
Yeah, right.
So you can just buy a rental. I think it's 24 hours or 3 plays. And then, on to the next. They do have packs if you want to get a couple. There's so much on there.
Are all of these movies on there?
No, not all the movies, no.
Right,
no.
okay.
But definitely worth watching. The Miracle Club you can catch in general cinemas as well from today.
Right.
And that will be at Palace Cinemas. Make sure that you check the times and the cinema name because, quite a few people will go to their local village or Hoyts.
And then they'll be like, but all I can see is Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Barbie and Oppenheimer. If you need a break, that's this is what you can do.
Yeah, if you wanted to travel to a pink world, you could just dial into the Barbie one. So
yes,
yeah,
definitely.
we can put a travel spin on any one of them. It was so gorgeous to catch up with you. Thanks very much for coming in. And,
thanks for having me on.
And thank you for watching so many of those movies, all in the name of work. You know, I'm feeling your pain here. Gorgeous. All right, well, we'll see you in a few weeks' time because we're going to talk about more movies with a travel application then.
And if you don't happen to be in Melbourne, you can still watch many of the movies in the MIF program online from the 18th until the 27th of August. Visit mif.com.au and you can follow Alistair's movie adventures at novastreamnetwork.com, and we'll put the link in our show notes.
Our tip this week is about what accommodation you should choose on your next European holiday, particularly relevant given so many people seem to be in Europe right now or are already planning their trip for next year. And with hotel prices soaring, we thought it would be interesting to look at this new research out by financial planners Moneyzine, which compares hotel prices to Airbnb.
Yes, and it found the best value for staying at a hotel versus Airbnb was Istanbul, where the average cost of a hotel is $118 compared to $45 for the average cost of an Airbnb.
Do you know, actually, Kirsty, I recently stayed in Istanbul, as I've mentioned previously on this podcast, and I was in a really reasonable eco-hotel called Number 11 in Pera. But looking for a couple of extra nights, I was actually really shocked by the hotel prices. Anything with any character was in the hundreds of dollars per night.
And Greece showed a similar disparity as well. The average cost of a hotel was $138 per night compared to $69 for an Airbnb. And these hotel prices, they actually do seem quite cheap.
Yeah.
But it does rise if you're looking at, say, Paris, which has an average hotel price of $242 compared to $131 in an Airbnb.
Oh, my goodness. I was in Paris on Easter and I can confirm hotel prices there are through the roof. Paris is really on trend with this rising hotel prices. So for our small family group, it was far more affordable to get a 2-bedroom apartment instead of a hotel rooms. It was a little tricky as we were there in a peak time in the European Easter break. So every school in the continent was on holidays. And the place we settled on was new to Airbnb, and so it was unrated. It had no reviews. And well, it's not a bad thing because they actually discount them when they are like that because, you know, people do want to read their reviews. Beware, listener, beware. I did have to skirt around an explanation with my 12-year-old why the ladies of the night were standing on the street outside the entrance to our Airbnb. So my advice is when you can, read the reviews or just suck it up and take the discount.
It's worth looking at Booking.com, of course, too, which has long been known as having a wider global presence. But Airbnb does actually have a stronger foothold with unique or niche properties. But sadly, we have all heard those stories of Airbnb cancellations. It's happened to me too at the last minute. But they can happen anywhere. So I guess, like you say, it's just a matter of sort of reading reviews and weighing everything up and working out what works best for you and taking the risk, really.
Or you can just book a hotel room. It's interesting to note that while a lot of hotels will offer the same rate as those on the booking platforms, often if you go direct, you will get an additional benefits such as free parking, maybe a glass of wine in their hotel bar. So it's always worth playing all of your options, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. You're listening to The World Awaits. This week, I caught up with Wandering the World founder Glenise Johnson about her epic walks on the famed Camino de Santiago, which she has walked an incredible 35 times. She talks about how this momentous walk, which spans several countries, can literally change your perspective on life. Welcome to the show, Glenise.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Let's start by tell us a little bit about your business, Wandering the World, and why you started it.
Well, I took the advantage in 2013 to go and live in Spain for 6 months because I had a long service leave, and I thought, what am I going to do while I'm there? And my partner said to me, oh, look, we should do a week of the Camino. And I said, oh, what's the Camino? She said, oh, well, it's this great walk across Spain. It's about 800 kilometres. And I thought, well, we may as well do the whole thing. And so off we went. Yeah, 800 kilometres is quite a feat.
Fantastic. And tell us about what you've been doing. So you've been walking and taking people on walks, which is what you do, right? You take small
Sure.
groups.
Yes, I guess when I come back to the sharing what I love, I thought, well, I think I can encourage a few people along and walk different parts of the Camino and different parts of the world, for that matter, each year. And that way I can see what I want to see and do what I want to do. We had a lot of guided groups initially, but what has become really big for us is the self-guided. So there's some people, whether a one person, a two person, like a couple or friends, or small groups, private groups, want to go off and do it on their own. They don't want me hanging around. And so therefore I actually create and craft something special for them, tailor it to their needs, and away they go. And I've got probably now 70% of my business is self-guided.
So tell us a bit about what you've been doing the last 3 months and where you've been walking with your groups.
Oh, look, it's been so exciting to get back on the Camino track. I haven't been there since 2019. I've walked into Santiago 35 times, so I have a lot of connections there. I know a lot of people there. I know the lady that in the gift shop on the first bend when you walk into Santiago, and actually I went into her shop, and we've never really communicated much because of my Spanish and her English, and I looked across the counter and she looked up at me and I thought, will she recognise me? And she burst into tears. She came around, she hugged me and she said, I worried about you. So, you know, for me, the whole Camino is not just a walking trip, it's actually an emotional journey. And that's what I think a lot of people are looking for. It was just fantastic to see Portugal again and Spain, and really they're at their peak in terms of tourism. I went across to the UK as well. One dream was always to walk the coast to coast from St Bees to Robin Hood's Bay and stop in the small villages, the little guest houses, the bed and breakfasts and that. So I just had the most amazing 3 months, and with a lot of people that have travelled with us before, meeting new people that hadn't walked before. It was just incredible.
Tell us a bit more about the Camino, and what is it that makes it such an emotional journey for you and for those who are experiencing it for the first time?
Well, one thing I think is actually, you know, there's some challenges in there in terms of distance, in terms of terrain, depending on what people choose, whether they want a shorter walk or a longer walk. So I think it's the emotional and the reward of actually making it. You know, like if you walk anything from 100 to 800 kilometres, that's a big feat. And it's the people you meet, the local people you meet along the way, as well as the walkers that you meet along the way, the stories you hear. I mean, the famous thing is, you know, the movie The Way, where someone's carrying someone's ashes. There's all of these things that actually happen in real life on the Camino. So it turns into something that's very important in terms of a journey in people's lives.
And is that why you keep going back to do that specific walk?
Oh, absolutely. And even it doesn't even have to be Santiago where the emotion starts, that's for sure. And some people don't even finish there. They finish in different places for different reasons. It's just the welcoming that you receive. Like I say, the daily walking that makes you feel so fantastic. In fact, the walking's all about the guilt-free eating and drinking, if I want to be really honest. Because Spain has fantastic food and it's just a wonderful part of the world, but which if you go in the summer months, when I say summer, anything from April through to the end of October, ignoring the peak summer, it's beautiful weather. So we're really spoilt for choice.
And what sort of people are you getting doing these walks? What are their stories?
Well, I think what's happened of late is a lot of people that had the Camino on their bucket list are eager to get there. But in the past, I think there's been people that have just wanted a really long journey. They wanted to kind of shake some of their daily routine. They're either sick of their job or sick of their lifestyle or just want something completely different. And they find that long walk actually gives them that reflection time, resets their compass and gives them a different breathing space and a different outlook on life.
Fantastic. And you said that obviously the UK walk was one that you were really wanting to do too. What's special about that walk?
Well, I guess for me also, I lived in the UK for 8 years, so I've always had a passion for it in many ways. I mean, it's a pretty tough walk, especially in the first few days, but there's just something quite beautiful about the northern part of England and going from the Irish Sea to the North Sea. And just the landscape, you know, you've got the moors and the dales, but you've also got the most picturesque lake district. So there's a whole lot of lovely scenery as well as the wonderful people that welcome you into their inns.
It sounds like you're not spending too much time in one place these days.
Well, that's right. And look, some people say, how do you live out of a suitcase? I didn't even notice it. We do a luggage transfer, so all I have to do is unzip a couple of zips, change clothes, zip them up again, and let somebody else do the hard work.
Oh, hilarious. So are you seeing an increase in people wanting to do walking holidays? And why do you think that is, if that is the case?
Oh, huge increase. I think probably because of COVID, people started walking and realising that that's actually quite a nice way to go. So that combined with people having things on their bucket list, which I think are now floating to the top as an urgent thing to do, is what really has created a huge momentum for the Camino in particular.
Is there a specific sort of type of person that you're seeing? Is there an increase in females or solo travelling, or what's sort of some of the trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, look, there's always been more females than males, I've found, especially on the guided trips. But even with even with the self-guided, there's a lot of women doing long walks on their own, which I really take my hat off to. Sometimes they're a little nervous in the beginning when I'm talking to them about their journey, but you can tell that they're just going to have a walk of a lifetime. And when you talk to them at the end, I mean, I always reconnect at the end and find out what they've discovered, and they've just got stories galore, and they just feel so empowered and so confident. People grow in confidence with these walks, whether it's something they do on their own or with a group. They just see themselves a bit differently, and they understand that health, the importance of health, and of course walking helps enormously with that.
Yeah, fantastic. And so what specifically are some other areas that you're seeing people are wanting to go to and walk in? What are some of the specific tracks that you're doing with people?
Well, certainly Japan is well and truly back on the radar, and it's always been a popular destination, but certainly a lot more walking in Japan now with some of the trails like the Nagasendo Way and the Kimono Kodo. So we find that the minute we send out a note about one of those walks, people sign up immediately. It's a fantastic part of the world. It's one of my favourite countries as well, Japan. Beautiful people, such a different culture to anywhere else in the world. It's completely unique in every way. So that combined with the UK, like I mentioned, whether it's England, Scotland, Ireland, certainly Italy's getting a lot of attention as well. And then there's other parts, like people are still putting their hand up to go to places like Nepal and see the beauty of the Himalayas as well.
And how many kilometres are you sort of averaging per day?
Well, we vary things depending on, I do a lovely trip called the Leisurely Way, which I really enjoy with people that just want it to be a little bit slower pace. So, it's only about 12 kilometres, but then I will actually tailor the longer 800 kilometre walk for people who walk up to 30, 35 kilometres a day. So it really depends on the person and what they're looking for, but there's options out there for everyone.
If I was wanting to do a walk and I hadn't, been on sort of a walking travel experience before, what would be sort of where would you recommend people start?
I really think the Sarria to Santiago, it's 100 kilometres. It is the most popular path. I think the trick is to get the timing right so that you're not with, the hordes of people, because it is a popular path. But I think that path has a great energy, a great feel. You're seeing lots of forest. There's plenty of cafes to go as fast or slow as you like if you want to have a long coffee in the morning or a long lunch on the way. There's plenty of accommodation places, and they're nice, unique, rustic, wow, charming sort of places. So you can tailor that again to what you're looking for, or downgrade if you want to brave it and do the bunk style accommodation, which we certainly don't do. So I would highly recommend that, and it's a great starting point to understand how your body's going to behave with a 100-kilometre walk.
Absolutely. And so what's next for you? Where are you heading to next, and how long are you planning on continuing to doing these?
Well, I certainly don't have an end date. I'm actually off to the Kimberley this weekend, so I'm pretty excited about that. We have a walk there, which I have a couple of guides that are going to look after me rather than the other way around, so I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also really looking forward to September, where I'm heading back to go over the Pyrenees again. I'm guiding this lovely lady who's meeting up with her husband in Pamplona. She doesn't want to go over the Pyrenees on her own, and I said, I'll go with you. It's just a beautiful part of the Camino. You start in the base of the Pyrenees in France and go across to Pamplona in 4 days. And then I'll continue on to guide a few groups on that Sarria to Santiago stretch that I love.
Gosh, what a lifestyle. You're making me incredibly jealous.
Come with me.
I would love to come with you. So, look, we end all of our interviews with this question. So tell us, what's the most bizarre situation you've found yourself in during your travels?
Oh, well, there's quite a few, I guess. I guess one thing that will always make me smile is the language barrier that can work for you or against you. I was in a restaurant one night with a dozen people in my group, and I thought I'll give them a little bit of a treat here, and before we have our main meal, I'll just get, some nice chorizo, some of their nice calamari, their padron peppers for everyone to have a taste. So I've ordered that quite confidently in my best Spanish. This is quite a few years ago. And so out it comes. I thought, this is fantastic. Just a platter, nice sized platter for everyone, but they brought out 12. So I then had to busily offer the platters to the rest of the people in the restaurant because there would have been enough food for us to eat for 3 nights. They're very generous with their portion sizes, the Spanish. So, certainly the language barrier, which nowadays Google Translate helps with enormously. But, yeah, there's been a few little tricky things along the way.
I guess it could have been a lot worse.
It could have, Kirsty. It could have, absolutely.
All right, look, thank you so much. It's been fantastic to talk to you, and good luck in the Kimberley.
Wow, that's so inspiring. It makes me want to lace up my walking boots immediately. To learn more about Glennis's walks, go to wanderingtheworld.com.au. And that brings to a close The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods, and you can find us at theworldawaits.au. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Writes on Instagram and Facebook. That's KIRSTIE Writes. And where can people find you, Belle?
You'll find me at globalsalsa.com or Instagram on global_salsa. Thanks for listening. See you next week.